Hello, welcome back to the Mr. Arsenal podcast for our match day reaction to Arsenal v Wolves v Arsenal. We won 2-0, top of the league, 5 points, top number Christmas number one, way in advance. As you can see, I'm joined by Ray. How you doing, Ray? It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm all good, Ryan. Thank you for having me on. I was trying to think the last time I was on your pods, and it might have been the very start of the season, first week, I think. So
I think it was, yeah.
It's been a while. Palace, yeah. So it has been a while. But yeah, thanks again for having me, mate.
Absolutely no problem. But let's get right into it. I mean, what was your initial thoughts? Obviously, we got the lineups come out. It's strong, the strongest 11 possible in terms of what we've got.
Yeah.
And then we come out 2 minutes in. Granit Xhaka goes down, and you can already tell straight away it wasn't an injury. It was a bug. He had some sort because he was white as a sheep, white as a ghost, whatever. And then it turns out Arteta says it weren't just him; it was 3 or 4 other players.
Yeah.
Does that sort of explain the first half, especially how
a little bit? Yeah. It sounds like some dodgy pasta or something, doesn't it? I think they must have had, but yeah, I think it did. It did disrupt the first half quite a bit. We obviously saw Fabio Vieira get subbed in, and he looked quite good, to be fair. But I think it took him a little while to sort of get into the game. But it was weird because we're not used to seeing Xhaka go off. Unless it's suspensions, we're not used to seeing him miss games at all. So it was a bit strange, wasn't it, to see him leave so early?
Yeah, it was, but it was in that sense. It was just. I mean, again, fair play to obviously Granit and the 3 or 4 other players that remain nameless because no names were mentioned. We only know Granit because obviously what happened. But fair play to them in the circumstances. They felt ill, but they tried to in the moment. But they tried to play through it. Well, especially him. But it just weren't having it. And I mean, there was one point where he's got these orange juice or whatever, and he's put it in his mouth. And he's come straight back out again. It's just like, yeah, you got to go off, mate.
Yeah.
And he just looked, even walking off the pitch, he didn't look right either. Like he wasn't aware of what was going on. But obviously, hopefully he and whoever has been affected, it does get better. Just don't trust any Tottenham fans. That's all I'm saying. After what? No, but even that disruption, we had all the possession in the first half. There's just no cutting edge in the final third, and that final moment we just got there, penalty box, and went, what do we do now? It seemed like anyway we just overthought things, and then it was so easy for Wolves to defend against us.
It was just kind of easy control possession, really, wasn't it? We sort of moved it about nicely, but you summed it up quite nicely there. We didn't have that that sort of cutting edge really in that first half. I know obviously Jesus had that goal that was disallowed for offside, which is rightly so.
He was offside, yeah.
He was offside, yeah. But other than that, I can't really think of too many other good opportunities, if any, really, that we created in that first half. And like I say, I'm not sure if that was just some of our players not feeling 100% right to begin with, and it just taking a little while to get into the game. But yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are really on it.
No, yeah, I've got again. It's like you say, especially when we find out at the end of the match by Mikel himself that it wasn't just Granit, as I keep saying, that was ill.
Yeah,
there's a few of them. It does explain not just because initially in the moment it looks like the sub itself, the fact that Granit himself is the one that's gone down because we don't know what's going on in terms of other players. It just seemed that knocked their sort of their flow, their confidence, and it took a while for them to get going basically. But when you, as I say, when you hear it weren't just him, it was others, it explains that side of things. And in terms of Jesus, yes, in terms of the goal, it was offside. Even though it was offside, it rings home to me what I've been saying for the last few weeks, and all these naysayers are going, "Oh, Jesus, waste of money. This he's basically a Aubameyang, Lacazette sort of situation all over again."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here saying no, even before yesterday, because of what he's doing, either way on the pitch, creating goal, getting assists, and this, that, and the other, and getting involved in the team. It gives us a lot more than what we got last year. The reason why we fell short because we didn't have that.
Yeah.
But him scoring that, even though it was offside, him scoring that reaffirmed to me that I'm right. That it's a blip. All players go through. But Henry went through a 6 to 7 game blip in the 05-06 season. At one point, strikers go through these blips. Harden's going through a blip. They all go through them.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when it happens. And obviously, I think depending on what happens in the World Cup, we'll probably see one before the New Year's out, and either West Ham or Brighton. I think because either will be buoyed by a World Cup win or determined to prove his doubters wrong. Either way.
Yeah.
The key point, the big talking point of the first half was a talking point that goes against us in one sense. Wolves attacking. The game gets called back for offside, but you got the pundits and all that going. That should have been a penalty. Well, basically, the ball goes through. I can't remember the Wolves number 10. I think it is number 10 or number 20. One of the two. Can't remember his name. He's through on goal either way.
Was it Guedes? I think.
Guedes. I think that was it.
Yeah.
He's through on goal, but Saliba catches up. Doesn't get the ball per se, but doesn't foul. If that makes sense. It's just sort of coming together as they're trying to scramble for the ball each. But your pundits and all that, no, it's dire penalty. Should have been red carded. This, that, and the other. Wolves fans are having a meltdown as well. What was in terms of that moment? What was your thoughts? At any point did you think they're in trouble here? That this VAR could get us over?
To be honest, mate, looking back on it, I think it probably was a pen, and we probably got away with one. However, at the time, and in real time, I thought it was one of those sort of 50-50s. It kind of goes for you or against you. I wasn't sure whether they disallowed it because of potential offside, which if that was the case, again, it's VAR being completely incompetent.
Yeah.
But, I felt like it would have been quite harsh to have given it. But it's like I said, Ryan, it's sometimes you see them given, sometimes you don't. And, I think we were just on the fortunate side of it. But I don't think it was that much of a turning point.
Clear cut, was it? It wasn't a clear and obvious mistake either.
No. I mean, as you say, the way the Sky Sports pundits were going on, you would have thought it was, the ghost goal in 2010, Frank Lampard or something.
Yeah.
It was that obvious. And in my opinion, it really wasn't. You see them given sometimes they're not.
Yeah. No, yeah, it did frustrate me because even though I'm doing the stream and I'm briefly here, and I'm just like, is it that bad? Was it a leg breaking challenge? Was it a clear cut? Like he basically took the player and threw him in the air, basically. No. And the offside, going back to the offside, is a tight call. Even I can't say 100% either way. He's dead on with the last defender, or he's ahead, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm not paid to find that out. That's down to the VAR. Mike Dean.
Oh, well, there we go then.
I was thinking
you've answered your own question there, mate. Really, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we got through that. We got back in control of the game. And that was the main thing. Even though I've said it already, the final third, we were just literally packing them into their own half for the entire first half, and in the second half, we come out, no subs made either from us.
No,
and we start upping the ante straight from the off in terms of we start actually turning on the cooker the gas and basically like, no, we're going to actually up the ante now and really go for you now. You thought you had it easy the first half. We're actually going to go press your final third and create stuff now and see how you can deal with it then. And Martinelli, for me, involved in both goals. Far better second half. And I mean, again, I don't get some of the Brazil outlets criticising him being picked because yesterday showed why he should be picked. Because he can pick it up first goal, picks the ball up, runs out of position, goes all the way around. He'll find the space on his own if he has to help out his team to get the goal. Or the second goal, he actually will fight for the ball. Even if he ain't got the ball, he's no good God-given right to win the ball back. He'll fight for it, get it back, and do what he did in the build-up for the goal.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's a special player. and I think most teams would, really celebrate having him as we should. I don't know. I think just Brazil have a lot of great players, don't they? And maybe they've just got too many players in that area. I'm not too familiar with the Brazilian media or anything, but I'm sure it's a bit like the English, where they sort of have their, their favourites and who plays for certain, big clubs and whatnot around Europe. Maybe it's the same with Martinelli. I don't really know.
It's just a shame. I mean, he's young. He's 21 years old. First World Cup. He should be able to enjoy the moment without having media in from his home country on his back for something off. Like, let him play first, and then decide if you want to judge him or not, positively or negatively, because that'd be a massive mental block in his head now. That knowing there's people for his own country don't believe he should be in that squad. And let's be honest,
I know. Sorry,
he's been
mate,
good. No, he's been he's not been out of this world fantastic, but he's been vast improvement from last season. He's everything we need. He's been key to our success this season so far. Touchwood.
Yeah, without Gabriel Martinelli, there's no way we're top of the Premier League at this stage of the season. I just think that playing for Brazil, with my sort of limited knowledge on it, it's just another level of pressure that, it's just different. They're the most successful country in World Cup history. And like I say, I just think there's so many players that I think, there's always that pressure. But I think it's important that he is going in the first place and that he didn't, not get selected. I don't know what you think as a Gooner. Are you happy he's going? And do you think he's going to sort of play a lot, or do you think he's going to be sparingly?
As a Gooner, and being even though he's one of our first team regulars, he's young because he is 21 and he's a once in a lifetime thing. You don't get many World Cups. There's Theo Walcott and all that. They've all found that over the years.
Yeah,
I'm happy for him. I'm ecstatic and good luck to him. And hopefully, he does well in the World Cup. I think in the lesser games you'll see him playing the lesser up the Brazil versus the. I don't know if they've got in their group, but the lesser teams in their group, basically. And then when it comes to the more established teams, he might be benched then and use a bit as a bit part player, depending on how well he impresses the manager against the lesser teams, basically, with all due respect to them. What about yourself? What are your thoughts on it? Would you have rather him stayed put and just stayed with training for a month and a half?
I agree with you, mate. I do think that him going is massive. I think if he didn't get into that squad, I think he'd be devastated. Selfishly, as a Gooner, I hope that he comes on the last sort of 5-10 minutes here and there. Gets a little run out, but nothing too strenuous. But yeah, we want to see our players play on the big stage, right? We want to be that big club again that we used to be. So I guess we kind of have to get used to it, don't we?
Well, there's that, and the fact that because as Arsenal fans, we always big up our players. It's like the Martinelli, the Sakas of this world. If they're playing for their respective countries at the World Cup, it gives us more reason to say, see, look, you're now seen on an international stage now against the best of the best, mostly anyway. What we see week in, week out from a club level. Yeah. So it only reaffirms what we've been saying about the likes of Martinelli. Since he walked through the door, really, all in 3-4 years ago. 4 years ago now.
Yeah, because we're going to loan him out initially, weren't we? I think he come on pre-season with Unai Emery in America, however many seasons ago that was. And his first game, he just looked in, a different level. And he's taken a bit of time, Arteta, to integrate him in the team. But as soon as we sort of let Aubameyang go and then replace him with Martinelli, he's been brilliant for us. And as I mentioned, certainly this season, his level of goal contributions with goals and assists has been brilliant for us. Couple that with his work rate and his tenacity, and like I say, we would not be top of the league if it wasn't for Gabriel Martinelli.
No, of course, and I think I want to add to that is what we saw. I don't know if you watched the documentary yourself, but from what I saw is, I think it's episode 4 or 5 when they touched on Martinelli, and he's basically got the bond and relationship with Edu, because obviously both from Brazil, they both speak their native tongue when they talk to each other. And there's a moment where they're in Edu's office and they're talking back and forth about Gabby Martinelli's mum and how she's in Brazil, settling into a new home. She's getting all the furniture sorted, things like that. And it's just like the little touches from the club, like things like that between Edu and that bond. And you see that sort of, even though he is so young, and he is at a club like Arsenal, he's not letting it get to his head. He's not thinking he's a big bollocks already.
No, that's so important.
He's
as well.
He's very level-headed.
Yeah.
His mindset. And he's like, in terms of money, he's like, I don't need the money. I've come from nothing. All my money goes to my parents. I completely trust them, and that's it. As I say, I don't need the money.
Yeah. I generally feel like if you had an attitude or an ego and was bad for the group, I don't think he'd be here, mate.
I could have gone out the door in 5 minutes.
Exactly. So the fact that he is very humble and hardworking and talented is massive credit to him. And as you mentioned, it was the All or Nothing documentary, right?
Yeah.
Those sorts of things that we don't necessarily see as fans. That's going to be sort of crucial in getting Martinelli to stay and sign a new contract, really. So it's all pleasing to see, mate. And hopefully, like I say, he does at least feature in some of the games and comes back, confident and injury free.
Touch wood, and along with all other players that go into the World Cup as well, including Ben White, Jesus Ramsdale, was it Saka, Granit? There's a few of them going actually.
Thomas Partey.
Oh God! Actually, you know what? Don't play, Thomas. Please don't play.
Just no.
Oh dear. Tomiyasu. I think Tomiyasu going. Matt Turner, obviously USA #1. So we've got a few other players going, and then from that perspective, even from taking the England games out the equation, I'm actually looking forward to seeing some of our players play in that stage, see how they play and do and all that. As they injury free, I'll be happy. I'll be a happy man coming in Boxing Day. We've got no players coming back from World Cup that are injured. I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't remember. It was just a vast, in terms of, let's go back to the second half. Sorry, Martinelli, I talked about Martinelli, his involvement in the goals. But it was such a vast improvement in the second half. We actually it was like we came out with a purpose. Like Arteta said, no, you're okay, you're doing good, but you can do better. Put your foot on their throat and see what happens. And up the ante. And eventually, we got the goal. Odegaard with the literal, and it was a fantastic goal as well. As I say, Martinelli get the ball, runs around, opens up the space. Eventually, of course, Fabio Vieira pulls it back, and it's an easy tapping for Odegaard. If it weren't for it, either him or Tackle would have tapped it in. But it was a good. And from there on in, it's like you could only see one team walking away with the 3 points. You couldn't see Wolves getting back into it, and I think the pressure of getting that goal from the team in general, just they relaxed a lot more, and they started playing an even more better style of football that we've become used to this season. I mean, with Odegaard scoring a brace yesterday, got player of the match because he got to play on the 2 goals. What's your impressions of this? Because as you say, we haven't spoke most of the season. What have your impressions been of Odegaard this season as captain, and he is contributing on the pitch when it comes to goals or assists?
Yeah, I think he's brilliant, mate. When he plays, his work rate is just unreal, and in these games he's making the difference, in against the the smaller teams or the teams that are struggling. He's I think he's scored against Wolves, Bournemouth, possibly Fulham. I think
Fulham, he scored a goal,
and I think there was another team that was newly promoted that I can't think of. Maybe Forest. 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 So he's making the difference in them games, and we didn't have a player from midfield that was really doing that. And I know he was playing for us last season, but do you know what I mean? He's elevated his game.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a player that was doing that for us last season. So to see him now, start to do that, I think is really encouraging, mate. and he's still so young.
Yeah, exactly. He's young as well. There's that, and he did an interview on Arsenal on the Arsenal website or social media last night. And he's saying that you talk about his improvement this season. Like he's taken it to another level. He's saying that he's making more runs into the box now. They may not be beautiful, fantastic goals or screamers or whatever, but they're goals, and end of the day, that's what matters. End of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that we have suffered since Ramsey, especially since Ramsey left a few years back. We were suffering near the end of that time, but we really suffered once he'd gone. We lost our goals to midfield in general.
Yeah,
I think this season we've got glimpses of goals from our midfield, and like Smith throwing all that last year in bit parts throughout the season. But throughout this season, it's consistent from day one. We're scoring goals from the defence from our midfield a lot more often now. We're getting back to that way where we used to be back in the glory days, where even if a striker didn't score, we could always rely on our wingers, our midfielders, our defenders, whoever.
We've got goals all over the place now, haven't we?
Yeah, that's the one thing we've majorly lacked in the last 4 or 5 plus years.
Yeah, because I mean, the last 2 or 3 seasons, we've just relied on Aubameyang and Lacazette to an extent to score pretty much most of our goals. Then it's been odd player chipping in here and there, but really the main bulk of it was just them two. Going back to your point earlier about Gabriel Jesus, he takes up all these different positions, so he might be in the midfield, but then that will operate the space for someone like Odegaard to get into. And we're seeing, opposition defenders, they almost don't know who to mark at times because, all our players are so fluid and the movement is so good in and around the box. I think I see, sorry to sort of go back a little bit, but I think I see a stat earlier with Gabriel Jesus. I think he's got 11 goal contributions. So 5 goals and 6 assists off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So he's involved in a goal pretty much every other game, or if not more than that. And going back to the Martin Odegaard, that's him doing that, and him doing that work allows the likes of Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka to really do their thing, and Granit Xhaka as well this season.
Yeah, and then with Jesus, talk about what he does. There's what game it was now? Was it? I'm trying to think. There's a home game in the Europa League where he comes on. Well, we're winning 2-0, I think it was. Was it Zurich or Bodo Glimt? I think it might be Bodo Glimt actually at home. Yeah. He comes on, gets the ball, wiggles around in the back, in and out the box, in the box, in and out, and then he just passes it across. Fabio Vieira whacks it in. And again, it's because of what, as you say, because of what he's doing, his movement off the ball to get in them positions in the first place it's joining the defenders, which is opening that space for the Fabios, Odegaards, whoever, to come in and fill that spot where he would be. And we're still getting the goal. We're not missing out, mate, at all.
Yeah.
And it's a consistent thing. It's not like one here, once blooming here and there. It's, as you say, consistently every game. If he's not there, someone else is there because he's in their position and they're filling up these spots. It's been a major improvement this year, and I'm enjoying watching it. I've been saying all season so far that no matter who, home or away, no matter who we're playing, I'm actually confident and I fully believe in this team that we're going to win on every match day, no matter who we play. Yeah. I was gutted when the Man City game got called off at the time because of the PSV situation that we had. Because I do fancy us, and that's before recent results with Man City. I actually fancied us because even though they have got Haaland and he is a fucking machine, but I think even weaker side. I think even Saliba and Gabriel, they work together properly. They could keep them quiet. That's half the job done. The defense has shown those throughout the season that they're gettable. They showed yesterday against Brentford at home. They're gettable.
They showed they're only human, Ryan. I know we say we joke that Haaland is
a machine,
that. But
can you tell the media that, because I don't think they think we're going to walk it.
Well, true that, but yeah, mate. I was the same. I thought it would have been a really good test at that time to see sort of where we were. We were playing well all season, really, but especially then, I thought we were sort of right in our element. And yeah, it would have just been a really good test. As you say,
Yeah.
I don't fear any game this season.
No.
I mean, we've obviously played Wolves and they're struggling, but in recent seasons, you say that to say to somebody that you're playing Wolves away, and there's that sort of intake of breath, isn't there? And it's like, well, that's going to be tricky.
Yeah. Or Liverpool at home, or
Liverpool at home,
Derby, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Going to Stamford Bridge, with every game, we're seeing more and more what these players are all about. And we touched on it just a second ago, but there's goals all over the team, mate. I can only think of maybe our fullbacks and obviously the goalie that hasn't scored. Other than that, I think everyone in our starting 11 has got at least one goal this season. Even our centre backs have got 2 each, I think.
Saliba, you got Bournemouth. Bournemouth goal. Who was the other one? Oh, Brentford. He scored, didn't he?
And Brentford, yeah.
Brentford, and Gabriel has got Fulham. You got Fulham, Chelsea. There's someone else, wasn't there? There was
somebody else.
He's got 3 or 4 goals, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're getting goals there.
Do you know what I mean? Like I can think of times where every player, other than our fullbacks, and even they're so dangerous. They haven't scored. They've assisted.
They've had chances as well. They've had chances.
Yeah, I mean Thomas Partey's shooting. I mean last season, mate, if you go to the games and you're in the upper tier, you're catching the ball.
Yeah, literally.
Whereas now,
Russian roulette when the ball's going to come to you, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And now, we're seeing him. He scored 2 from outside the box, and that's so crucial when teams just try and park the bus and camp outside their box.
And both of his goals in the Premier League against Forest and Tottenham have both been first-time hits as well. Not like he's run onto, took a touch and hit. It's run onto him and just hit it and just wrapped his foot around it. And both goals are fantastic. I mean, the North London derby will be are holding more stead because obviously
of course,
North London derby it's Tottenham and you just want to. And it's like finally you scored with your foot.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of goals last season. He's got 2 goals last season against Leicester and Palace, something like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But even these games have improved this season. In touch wood, he stays injury free because we do between now and Christmas. We need him to stay injury free between now and the window because we do now need to go and get someone in just to be the backup, would be an ideal replacement, just a slot in if called upon, or just to rotate every now and then for the second half of the season, because we can't put all that pressure back on him like we did last year, because all that happened. And if we're in a title charge, we can't afford to lose him. He is key, because as much as Granite's been fantastic, he does need someone like Partey alongside him to do what Partey does and get the ball. Get that ball and just control the tempo of the game and break the game up. Do basically what Vieira used to do. Do the nitty gritty stuff while he does the.
Yeah. And I mean, he's so press resistant as well, isn't he, Ryan? Like that's what really impresses me about Thomas Partey's game is that how many midfields have we seen in recent seasons that just sort of are on the ball and get dispossessed. It almost seems impossible to dispossess him at times. He's able just to. Skip away from people or turn or, give people the eyes and go the other way. And the fact he's added, a couple of goals already this season has been brilliant. Like you say, he's just so important to what we do. I think it's almost impossible, mate, really, to get somebody in like for like to come in.
But like someone that plays in the similar as a natural in that role in terms of
and I hear
we're not relying on Sambi Lokonga. With all due respect to Sambi, I think even this season he's not really I'm not saying kicking on, but you see a massive drop off in difference between, and again Sambi's not a natural number 6 or whatever. He's more of a forward thinking player.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it took a couple of seasons really for Thomas Partey to do what he's doing now. When he first arrived, obviously he had a big reputation from Atletico Madrid. He come in, I thought my first impression was, this guy looks, really physical and really, cut out for the Premier League. we saw a bit of his quality, but then he got injured. Last season, he come back, really showed what he can do, how press resistant and how he can keep the game running from midfield, but then got injured again. This year, he's doing all of the above and scoring, and now touch wood, he stays fit. So he's improving, and he's one of our more, I say, experienced players. He's only 29, but in this team, he's an old timer, isn't he?
One of the old guys, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
This team's over age,
yeah. So my point is that he's so crucial, and what he does, he hasn't just done overnight. I think it's taken a couple of seasons.
Just certainly Premier League the way love, because La Liga and Premier League is completely different in terms of how the tempo is, how the style is, and all that.
Yeah.
And having to adjust to that with the injuries he's had as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, thankfully we are seeing the fruits of that now and hard work. It would have been quite easy for him just to go after the first couple of years. What ain't for me. I want to go home. We've seen it with Lucas Tadeo, Jose Antonio Reyes back in the day. If it doesn't work out for them after a year or two, they sort of go, I want to go home. I want to go back to where I'm comfortable, basically.
Yeah.
So
no, he obviously, I think he loves it here, mate. To be honest, you always hear it when players sign, don't you? But I suppose he was an Arsenal fan growing up as a kid and whatnot. And you can tell he feels very valued, and he just loves being here. And we love him. It's just like I say, it's just keeping him fit. That is the crucial thing for me.
And hopefully, as I say, keep touching wood here. We are near the end. We're on the end game of on the end of basically him getting injured now. Like no more that constantly, because it just does my head in.
I mean, do you think with El Neni coming back? Obviously, he's not the same. I'm not saying he's the same player, but he can do a similar job in one or two games when called upon.
When called upon, I get what you mean. Against the lesser, again, the lower league teams, like the mid-table-ish teams, I think, and then he could do a job there.
Yeah.
As long as he stays injury, I think he's back from an injury as well. But
of course,
again, I've never had any quibbles with El Neni recently in the last year and a half or so, because he knows he's a squad player. He knows his role. He just gets on with it. And when he's been, especially more so last season, when he was called upon, when Partey did get injured back into last season, he slotted in and did a job for us.
Yeah,
and it only fell apart for him in one game. That was Newcastle North London double, where legs started to wear off, but obviously you're getting overplayed, so that was the reason behind that. But if you use him correctly, we'll be fine, and I think he'll be fine.
Yeah,
and obviously he's not going to the World Cup because he didn't qualify either, so he's going to be a fresh pair of legs as well come Boxing Day as well, just in case Ghana go deep into the competition, give him a bit more rest to recover from jet lag and all that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing them then for West Ham at home and Brighton away, just to give Partey that bit extra time just to get back and recover from the jet lag and whatever else, get himself back up to scratch here.
Yeah, because Ghana's just going to play him in every minute of every game. That's the thing, isn't it? So, yeah, I'd love to. I feel we'd like him for that Danilo kid. It's meant to be, one of these sort of next one on the Brazilian production line in midfield there.
Heavily linked with him as well. Him and that young lad Murdoch. Or the Ukrainian lad,
Ukrainian kid, yeah. He looks mustard, doesn't he? To be fair, but go on, mate.
No, as I say, if we go out in January, naturally be aggressive and get both them in, and a senior type player, just a senior head in the window, just to help the other senior players help get this team through whether this title, whether it is as it stands a title charge.
Yeah,
I think I'll be happy with that. I don't know about you. Obviously, you might want more. I don't know.
No, I agree. I think we need them two players in that position. But I think them two in particular, I think you know, we've got a really good setup. Obviously, we've got loads of Brazilians in our first team, or in and around our first team and whatnot, and for our club. Edu obviously is Brazilian, so there's that. So we can make him feel quite comfortable and at home here, if you like to feel.
Yeah.
And with I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Mudrik or is it Mydrik or?
I have no idea. I'll be honest, I have no idea. But I know you're on about. Obviously, you mentioned.
Yeah.
I know
So
you're about.
with him, you know, we've already got Zinchenko.
Ukrainian,
so you know, he's got that Ukrainian link there already. So those two players, in my opinion, would really elevate our squad. And you know, there's already a setup there for them to walk into. You know, but I feel like regardless of that, I think we'd make both of those players, or any player, really sort of welcome.
Definitely.
Because I think now we really look at characters rather than just names like we've done in the past. And I think that's obviously massive for what we're doing at the moment and moving forward.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you at all there. In terms of you talk about characters and all, and as you mentioned about Partey loving the club, I think some of the else is we recently brought in the summer that seems to have already found another club is Zinchenko. You just mentioned him, Zinchenko.
Yeah,
he's come in. He's took to London life. Him and he's North London derby. I still can't fathom how his other half was sitting in the stands with the fans, as in the lower tier, filming it all. And no one recognised that. And this is as they're leaving late on that day. She's out hanging out outside the Tollington, outside the car, giving it to some.
So good, wasn't it? So funny.
And then, then we're seeing in the last week he actually hired, since he's moved down, got himself a place in London. He hired someone, an artist, to come and paint his entire gym area.
Yeah,
like the Emirates with him. It shows that he's taken to it. He's not seen us as a step down in any regard. He's enjoying the life at the moment, and again, straight from the off, match day one, the chant we came up with him straight from the off, taking his name as a gold, and again, that's showing that we're already you're one of us now, and I think he's took that, and when he's coming and he's basically all straight away he's shown Tierney that you want to be number one left back, you got to fight now because I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think and again, sorry to interrupt, but
that's fine.
When he was out for about a month and a half, it felt like forever. And Zinchenko was out, to be honest, because you saw the difference of when he did play to when he wasn't playing. In terms of whoever played that left back or wasn't given the same commanding performances, if that makes sense. Because obviously, as we saw yesterday, in fact, the whole season whenever Zinchenko plays on the ball, when we're on the ball, he comes into that midfield and turns it from a pivot to a trio, and there's a bit of solidarity to our midfield, a bit more off the
control.
ball.
Yeah. No, absolutely, mate. You've nailed it there. Really, he's come in, and I think all our left back options are all quality in their own way. I'll be honest, I don't think Zinchenko had his best game against Wolves, but I think he is coming back from his injury, isn't he?
What he gives, what the point was is, you see the difference. Again, yesterday, to say it wasn't the best performance, but again, he's coming back from an injury. Apologies. Back is obviously no World Cup either, so he's working his way back to fitness. He may be one of the players. He may be one of the players that had the bug. We don't know.
He might have been sat on Granite's table at dinner time,
Yeah, exactly.
Half time got a rocket up his arse from Arteta and a chance to go to the toilet. Who knows? But
maybe we don't. We'll never know. We'll never know. There's no cameras in there this year, so we don't
not
know.
This year.
Not this year.
So it's left to the imagination, isn't it?
No. But my point was, it's just that we do. He is clear down the number one left back, and Tierney's number two.
Yeah, I think so. And that's no.
That's no sign Tierney either.
No,
that's no sign Tierney at all, because obviously as I've been saying all season, in terms of what people come in the chat or podcast or the watch alongs, why is Tierney not starting? Why is Tierney not starting? He's on the bench. Why is he on the bench?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, well, you got to remember, he got a big injury back end of last season that basically ruled him out for the entire summer as well.
Yeah.
He came back within half hour of being back in the first game of pre-season. He got injured again.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're doing since then gone and got Zinchenko. So now I think Arteta's now trying to be smart. Again, what we say about the likes of Partey and like managing players now. We're just
100%. Yeah.
With Tierney, you've got to manage him now because he's 24, going on 25 now. He's been injured ever since he's come to us. He came to us with after a double hernia operation. As soon as he got into the team from recovering from that, within 3 games, West Ham came along and they took him out. He was out for another 2.
Was it a shoulder? I remember him out for ages, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, it was up to like March again, and then it's always been big injuries that take him out for a while. It's not like brief little ones. It's like a while. Yeah. I think Arteta's got to a point where, obviously, as I say, he bought Zinchenko in at the time as well in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was always going to be planned anyway. But now he's got someone that he knows Zinchenko from his Man City days anyway, so he knows the sort of player he is and professional he is.
Mm.
He's got someone there now. He can, instead of, like, with all due respect to Tavares, he's got someone now that he can rely on and not be like, I need Tierney back ASAP sort of thing. He can, as I say, manage him, ease him back in, work his fitness back to where it needs to be first.
Yeah.
And then reassess things. And then if he's good enough to be the first choice, off you go. But until then, he's got to game by game. It's a game by game thing at the moment. That's all we can do. Again, we're back in Europe this season as well. There's a lot more games to play. So there's going to be more games to spread about. So he's not going to lose much game time as he would have done last season if it was just outside of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I mean, they both play left back, don't they? But Kieran Tierney is a different type of left back. He's more sort of
the old school sort of left back.
Yeah, exactly. And he's sort of getting up and down and overlapping. Whereas, as you said earlier, Zinchenko's more sort of takes a position in midfield and gives us that outlet from there, really. And lets the likes of Xhaka and whatnot sort of maybe progress a little bit forward. So yeah, I just think that they're different. They play in the same position effectively. So yes, we're always going to compare them. But I just think that Arteta's system seems to be a lot about control. And I think Zinchenko and even Tomiyasu to a certain extent does give us that control. Yeah. But again, Tierney's a brilliant option. We saw it in in some of those Europa League games and some of the other Premier League games this season. Tierney has been excellent for us. And
also Tierney, again, talking about professional. This entire podcast, we talk about players being professional. He's not kicking off. He's doing interviews on Sky and all that. He's not off because I think the most recent one I saw of him on Sky was the week after Liverpool, and he was asked a question by the interviewer, sorry, that when did you find out? How did you feel? And he's like, yeah, I'm disappointed. I found out on the day, but yeah, I'm disappointed. But end of the day, it's a team game, and I know that there's competition, so I know I need to be my full. And again, I'm just come back from injury, and my time will come. When my time comes, I'll grab it. But until then, it's a team game, and I'm not going to complain. I know my role in this club. We all know our roles, etc. And there's a maturity there, but there's a professionalism. It would have been quite easy for him to just go on that interview and do I found out on this day, I'm absolutely distraught. I don't see myself here anymore, this, that, and the other. I don't think that's better to trust me. Completely ruining any sort of relationship we had with Arteta.
Yeah, and we've seen players do
it.
Absolutely, yeah. Words are out of my mouth, mate. Yeah, I mean, even like Tavares, for example. I'm hearing that potentially at Marseille, he's saying that I always enjoying it here, and he's thinking he might potentially stay on if he plays every week there and blah 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 really. It then gives us a decision. If we do get rid of Tavares, it sort of lessens his value because he's sort of made it clear that he doesn't even want to be here or it shows his unprofessionalism. Whereas, you know, again, I love Kieran Tierney. I'm not trying to get him out the door or anything. But if we were in a scenario, I don't think we'd lose any of the transfer value for him. I think we paid about 25 mil, and I think you know we break even if, you know, if not make a profit.
Yeah.
But like I say, I love Kieran Tierney, and I think his attitude is his best attribute, really.
Yeah, again, that's something that it's sort of put into him from Celtic, and again, massive applaudance to Celtic, the job they did with him, because he's not the ultimate professional, but as I say, in terms of what he does as a left back, he's the old school left back. When I say old school, I mean like Yasu Cole sort of will defend, but also he'll go forward and over, let's say, overlap and get the crosses and all that. His crosses. If we had someone aerial, he'd be lethal.
Yeah,
put it that way.
Yeah, no, I fully hear that. But do you not think it's refreshing as well that that I feel like before we were so like imbalanced, and what I mean by that is that all our attacks would either come down the left side, and we just so predictable. Whereas now we can open up the pitch. You know, even Ben White, who's been a centre back by trade, playing right back, and who's done fantastically well. You know, he can get down that side, and it opens up, you know, Ødegaard and Saka, and obviously, as we touched on earlier on, Jesus' movement, that allows people to get into those pockets of spaces and really hurt the opposition. Whereas before, I just feel like we've got this image of Tierney going up and down the left wing and sort of being our main attacking outlet. Whereas now, you know, we don't really have that problem.
You
kind of hark back to naturally you just kind of think about Tierney doing that.
And teams are now, because as you say, because we're now more open on our attack, our attack side can come from left, right, centre, no matter what, any time. It's keeping the teams on their toes, and it's not, as you say, it's not so easy to set a team up against us now, because we are now so more open and we have more threat all over the pitch now. I mean, as you say, Ben White, again, someone I've been singing these praises all season in terms of. You just mentioned he's a natural centre back. He played right back once on the Blue Moon when called upon. Not natural to him, but Steve's come in. Steve's took his place as centre back. He's gone at right back because somebody else who was injured at the time. He's made himself number one right back now.
Yeah.
And I mean, arguably England's best defender on form.
I think he's certainly on. Yeah, I mean on form. I'd say definitely, and I think he's definitely, you know, in that conversation, isn't he? And again, you know, we've just talked about attitude with Kieran Tierney. You know, what an attitude on Ben White.
Yeah.
As you say, he's not in his natural position, and we've seen players like Ainsley Maitland-Niles play in that same position and moan because he's, you know, sort of not where he wants to be. Yeah. But this lad's just got on with it. I think he can see what a quality player Saliba is and what he gives to the team. And I think, you know, every first team player just wants to be in the first team, you know. So his attitude's been brilliant, you know, just to get on and work as hard as he can, you know, making his game better in that role. And just sort of helping us out, you know, because like I say, we've had plenty of players at right back in a few seasons, probably since Bellerin's injury, and it just hasn't been the same, has it?
No. Yeah, since as you say, since Hetch done his ACL, and he was never the same when he came back. He lost the pace he did have at that point. He lost when he did come back because of the ACL, what he done to him, the operation, what it does to you. And Ainsley filled that spot for the time being, but he always, even at that time, he was always like, "I'm happy to play in now, but I want to play in midfield." And that was under Wenger. I mean, he's played under Unai Emery as a right wing back or right back, you know, called it. At times, he's been in the formation. And he's saying the same things. It's always the same trap going. And Arteta's has come in. He's kept on going with this narrative. I want to be in midfield. I want to be a midfielder. Yeah, sent out on loan straight. Okay, he went, okay, right, enough's enough. Off you go to West Brom for 6 months. Was it? I guess, and West Brom, it was fighting for survival, by the way.
Yeah,
he couldn't even get into that midfield, And Sam Allardyce has even come out and said since when Ainge, at the end of the season, I went to Ainge and said, "Go back to Arsenal, suck it up, take what you're given." And he hasn't done that. He's gone back there, kicked off again. So okay, I told him, okay, you won't listen to me, you won't listen to Sam. Go to Roma.
He went to Roma. Yeah.
Go to Roma. Jose Mourinho. One game. One game. It was like started one game, and Mourinho was like, "Yeah, you're on the bench for the rest of the season," and he still kicked up a fuss. And now he's at Southampton. He's barely playing there.
Yeah, he's on the bench for Southampton now. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I mean, Ryan. Just about the player's attitude. You know,
but it's having
it doesn't matter.
But it's also having the right team around him, not just like in the club itself, like the Edus and all that, and whoever, like the Cronkies, like just when he comes over, he's like having that, or whoever works at the club, like having that sort of team around you. It's your agents, your representatives, the people that work they work for you behind the scenes day to day and all that.
Yeah,
it's surrounding yourself with the right people, and to be honest, as it stands, we're either bringing in players or bringing players through from the academy that are surrounding themselves with the right people, be it family members or mixture of everything, like the family, their agents or whoever. Like we see with Saliba, he's got a fucking army basically, and the club itself, they all sort of as a collective come together, and you've got the right people around you on a day-to-day basis, keeping you level-headed on your ground.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Smith Rowe's currently out injured, and he's doing stuff, obviously, with the charity stuff and things like within the club. And again, he's not kicking off a fuss. He's ready. He's just getting himself sorted.
Yeah, he's just getting on with it. Just getting himself fit.
He's getting himself ready for Boxing Day. Hopefully, touch wood.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with it as well, how do I put this? With some of our young players, they sometimes think the grass is greener, and they think that if they kick up a fuss or they threaten to leave and eventually do that, that they'll become these players that maybe their entourage are telling them that they are.
Yeah.
When in actual fact, go on.
Just to add on to it, I think that the reason these players, like the youngsters, I think have that mindset is I think they've had that mindset since Ashley Cole left, went to Chelsea, did what he did at Chelsea. It's sort of, and then from there on in for 10 plus years, whenever a player left, they always went on to achieve success, basically. Yeah. I think in the last year and a half, I'll say, but especially in the last year, I think we're coming to the tail end of that now. The players are leaving. Lacazette's gone back to Lyon. Yeah, he's scoring goals, but not achieving nothing. They're mid-table in the league. And Aubameyang, we all know what's happening there. We're seeing him week to week. He's doing what we said. He's doing what we did for the last year and a half at Arsenal. Yeah. But players are now leaving us, thinking the grass is greener, and actually it's not. And I think the youngsters are seeing that now and going, as you said, it's a Sack, it's a Smith, Rose, Martinelli's, and they're seeing. Because they're now there. They're there day-to-day basis. And they see that happen.
That's the blueprint.
You know what? It ain't no bad, is it, at Arsenal?
Yeah, and the thing is as well, Arsenal, we have a lot of young players. Our whole club is quite young in terms of management and directors and everything else. But if you're good enough, you'll get a chance. And we're not just a creche. We're not just going to bring a player in because of their age. You've got to have the ability. So they have the ability. So as long as they have the right attitude, like we were just talking to about, they've got every chance of making a success of their time at Arsenal. And at the moment, mate, we're a top club, and I think it's really attractive proposition for most young players.
And that sort of mentality of bringing the youngsters on, that if you're good enough, you're old enough. Basically, if you have the right attitude, you can achieve anything at this club. That goes back to when the George Graham era. When George Graham comes in, sees an Asian squad that's underachieving, he goes, "Okay, you got 6 weeks. After that, if you ain't doing your job, you're out the door, and I'll find someone that's better." And look what he brought. He was either bringing in the youngsters from here and like Stokes of this world, Wimbledon's like the old Wimbledon and all that.
Yeah.
In like the Winterburn and Boldy and Dixon and David Seaman a couple of years later. Or he promoted in the youth, the Mersons of this world, Paul Davis and all that, Kev Campbell, etc. And it all stems from there. That's that sort of that era of, as you say, if you've got the right attitude and you abide by my ruling, basically, in terms of these are the rules, these are simple rules, you abide by them, you're good with me.
Absolutely.
And I think Arteta, it sort of went away, as I say, as we can all say, it sort of went away near the end of Wenger's time, and it took a while. But I think, with all due respect to Arteta, I think he's got that back now. That mentality of the non-negotiables, as he says, like these are the rules, you abide by them, and we're cool. You break them, you're on a thin line. You get X amount of chances. That's it. Depending on how bad you break the first time, this, that, and the other, like we've seen Guendouzi, Aubameyang, and all that. And the players are, because I think what really won him the battle was actually not the battle, the war, basically, in terms of getting everyone on side, was Aubameyang. How he dealt with that. Back this nearly a year ago, coming up for now, since that all went off. When that all went off, when obviously Aubameyang went to France, was meant to be back and didn't come back, and then came back a day late, and this, that, and the other. And as we saw in the documentary, how it actually played out. I think the players witnessing that and how he dealt with it himself, and actually said, initially he was banned for that Southampton game, and then after that got that game out of the way because it was so close, obviously, between the Everton and that, he went okay. When I had meetings and the Aubameyang's attitude wasn't getting any better, he went okay. As a club, we decided he's no longer our captain.
Yeah.
But he got the players, he got everyone together, the coaching staff, the players, all together in a meeting and said, right, I'm going to be straight with you. This is what's happened. And as a club, we've decided from now on, he is no longer our captain. That is it. He is done.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then how things then played out with Aubameyang, his behaviour in general in that situation, and how Arteta was just holding firm and basically like, no, I ain't backing down on this.
He's proven he's no joke. He's not to be messed with.
Yeah, and the players saw that and went, okay, you know what, he's serious. If he can do that to the club captain, what's he going to do to us, basically? So we're going to. And since then, the players are not just towing the line, performance-wise. Since then, has been getting to this point, game by game, better and better and better. And we had a little blip near the end of the season, as I say, with 2 games. But in general, it's all what we're doing this season stems from Aubameyang doing what he did. And thank you, Aubameyang, for doing that, because we are top of the league.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Martinelli wouldn't have had the game time he had back end of last season, and certainly playing this season if Aubameyang was still here. And you can see what how Aubameyang's career is going for him at Chelsea. I imagine some of our players would have thought, okay, it's a bit of a risk getting rid of Oba, but it is what it is. But now, sort of seeing, how he's just been shunted off at Barcelona. As soon as they got Lewandowski, they obviously needed to sell because of their financial problems. But then seeing, he's back in the Premier League, but he's a bit part player at Chelsea, and it kind of justifies Arteta's decisions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And again, it just shows he's no joke.
Yeah, and when he went back, when he signed for Chelsea and all that, the Chelsea fans giving it a bit, and media going, "Oh, he's back. He's gonna." The Chelsea fans are like, "Oh, he's gonna come and put Arteta in the mud and this, that, and the other, and Arsenal in the mud." And the media was going, "You know what? This, even though he's often a certain age, for the season itself, he'll be fine. He'll kick on with us. We know what he's." And I'm just sitting there going, "Keep going, because I've watched him. We as Arsenal fans, we've watched him week in, week out for a year and a half after he signed that contract. He ain't changing. He hasn't changed for 6 months. The fact that Barcelona went and got Lewandowski when they had Aubameyang, speaks, and they didn't even break their neck to keep Aubameyang as a part of a duo. Speaks volumes to me. I think he was even causing upsets there.
Yeah, I think as well, mate. He's obviously come back to Chelsea. I mean, he's come back because he's going to effectively play and probably earn quite a bit of money to do so. But he would have come back with Thomas Tuchel as manager, and then 2 or 3 weeks, into his Chelsea career, Tuchel's sacked, and it's a new guy that he doesn't know, and he's got to impress, And by the looks of it, Graham Potter doesn't fancy him either. So,
no coincidence there.
Exactly. So it just sort of goes to show that, Arteta done what he done, and he was fully justified.
Yeah, and as I say, I think everything, our whole form for this actual calendar year, all stems from him the second he left, and basically how. And the documentary from our perspective, because we only getting what the media was putting out to us, because the club were keeping radio silent on the situation and all that. It's right to say, because you don't look dirty laundry out in the public media and all that way it was. But the documentary, from our perspective, really, for anyone that doubted the situation of who's in the right, who's in the wrong, straight from the off, it rammed home Arteta was completely in the right. I mean, when Richard Garlick and Edu are having together in Edu's office, having a phone conversation with the club lawyers, and they're asking, is this a one-off incident? Has there been any more reason why Arteta's being so stern on this situation, like excluding him from the team and all that, and individual training? And Richard comes out and goes, "Oh yeah, he's got Arteta's forwarded on to me a dossier, not a few pages, a dossier on a misdemeanors from Aubameyang."
Yeah,
and then literally from that, the next scene is Aubameyang in the car park. Again, we don't know who he's talking to. He's talking to someone. He's saying, "Oh, look, this is what's happened. Me and the manager are falling out, but I've been offered an opportunity to go upstairs and right now and have a conversation with the people to sort this out here and now." And someone whoever was in the car park goes, "So you're gonna go take him up on that?" The snort of derision, and it just revs his engine and drives off. It's them things, and you're seeing the reason and why so justified in this matter Arteta was, and hats off to him, because again, this is his first job, his first job in general.
You completely forget about it now, don't you? Yeah.
And again, he had to, for him to deal with it the way he did. You got to say hats off to him, because that could have quite easily backfired. The club, again, because he is such a young manager, with all due respect to him, the club could have gone, you know what, we're not going to back you publicly. He's our highest paid player, he's our club captain, the fans love him. You're going to have to play him at some point. You have to integrate him back in.
Yeah.
But they didn't. As hard as it was to them, and Edu says it, as hard as it was for us to back him, we had to, because the alternative was things go off, things start getting sour and behind the scenes of the players and all that, and it could have quite easily fall apart for Arteta.
Yeah. He came across really well in that. I know we're going a little bit off subject now, but he come across really well in that documentary. And anyone that watched it and wasn't convinced by Arteta, I think they have were pleasantly surprised by it all. But what a job he's doing, and even now, mate, I'm sort of on social media and I see what some other fan bases are saying about our team, but sometimes about their own team. And I see some Chelsea fans, for example, right now, some of them are saying they want Graham Potter to go, they want him out. But then there are other Chelsea fans that are saying, well, look what Arsenal have done. They kept faith in they kept faith in Arteta, and look what he's doing for them now. We're other teams have taken notice what we're doing. And it's refreshing, mate, to hear. It's funny because obviously Chelsea in particular, they have a history of hiring and firing coaches, but it's refreshing, mate.
Yeah, and long may it continue. That we've spoken of in a positive light in that sense. As you say, there's actual opportunities for the ownership of the club to go bite the bullet right at her, but they stuck, as you say, they're stuck by him, and they're getting the fruits of it now.
At the moment, they're being proved right, aren't they?
Yeah, they've been proved right. Fair play to them. And I was one of them a year ago. I was one of them people a year ago having my doubts on Arteta. I was thinking, you know what, I can't see no improvement. Where's this going? It was from the aftermath of what happened and the performances afterwards that sort of started turning me. In this season,
yeah,
I said at numerous times, I hold my hands up. I said, I've got it. I got it wrong at the time. It is what it is. I had an opinion. I was wrong.
Opinions can change, though, mate. That's
what I'm saying.
The beauty of football,
human.
isn't it?
We all make mistakes. I'm human. I made a mistake in the situation and what it was, but I'm big enough and ugly enough, quite literally, to hold my hands up and say, yeah, I did make the judgment call. I did make the wrong call, but I'm ugly enough to say, you know what? He is the right man because he's doing the right things.
Yeah, I mean, after the Villarreal game, that was my moment where I wasn't sure. I've never been, aggressively wanting managers to go or anything, but I have my opinions. But yeah, after that, I thought it's going to be very difficult now for him to come back from this. And then after the first 3 games of the season, I couldn't see how he's going to turn it around. But at the same time, I know what this ownership are like, and I just couldn't see them sacking him. So it's just kind of, we've got to just hopefully see what happens and see, and, fingers crossed he gets it right. And up to now, he absolutely has,
Yeah. Look, the fact is we are now going into the World Cup break now for a month and a half, and we are top of the league by 5 clear points against a Man City that have Haaland in their team.
Incredible.
That for me, that speaks volumes of what the hard work and graft that not just Arteta but the entire team is doing day to day, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in European football because a lot of people, not just media but rival fans, and all in the summer, are going, Arsenal blew it. Last year was their best chance because they're outside of Europe and this, that, and the other. Now we're back in Europe. It's even harder to get back into the top 4. We've won the most games in the league. Of it, 12 out of 14. 14 we played. 12 out of 14 wins.
Yeah.
1 draw, 1 defeat. We've got the joint least goals conceded, which is like 11 or 7, one of the two. We've got the most goals in the league. And again, consider the team behind us has got Haaland in their team. That's saying something.
Mm-hmm.
And just to keep boosting Arteta's ego is the fan base. The majority of this fan base now, if not all of it, we're United. We're all singing off the same hymns. We're not seeing. We're not seeing to and fro abuse back and forth online or in person at stadiums, this, that, and the other. We're all singing the same hymns. We're all in harmony.
Yeah.
Match days, home and away, especially away fans have always been fantastic. We all know that. Yeah. The home crowd has always been, since we moved to the Emirates, the fans only turn up for the home games in terms of making a noise. This season, it's been more noticeable that no matter who we play, Fulham, Villa, Nottingham Forest every week, our fans are turning up and making a noise. And as I say, I'm going into it. Most fans are going into it now thinking we're going to win this game today, no matter who we play.
Yeah.
Away to Chelsea the other week, home to Liverpool, even though they were going to poor them, still like, you know what? They could
still
turn
Liverpool,
up, still Liverpool, but we're going to do it. Tottenham and North London Derby at the start of the month. Even though we lost Man United, even going into that game, apart from that, if we had a lapse in concentration for 5-10 minutes of that game, cost us 3 points.
Yeah,
and that was for me even more key, telling how much this team has grown. The teams in terms of the squad that was here from last season that's carried over. Because last season we lost a game. There'd be 3 more games before we won a game or got a point. We're going on a massive losing streak, no matter what. We lost that game the way we did, and you got the media going, "Yeah, fantastic. This is Arsenal's downfall. They're going to fall away and struggle to get in top 4." And straight from the off, we was like, "No. We're going to keep winning now."
Yeah.
And we took game by game, just going for them. Even when we're playing bad, we had Leeds United at Elland Road, second half. one of the worst performances second half.
I think that's our worst performance of the season.
But we ground it out. We dug deep. Got a bit of luck along the way. Don't get me wrong, but we dug deep. We grounded the result out. And you could say last year, the year before, whatever year gone by, how many years gone by, we'd have lost that game. Would have caved mentality-wise. Mentality is so much stronger now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Bamford missed his penalty, didn't he? And in years gone by, he just would have felt that he would have buried that. Obviously, they had that decision at the end, didn't they, with the penalty and Gabriel's red card, and then that was overturned. And maybe in the recent seasons, that wouldn't have been the case, So that was definitely our worst performance in the league, certainly. But as you say, we got through that. Southampton, I think, was disappointing, but if I'm being honest, maybe a draw was fair in that. And then United was the game that we lost, but I just felt like 10 minutes of switching off, and that's what really cost us.
Yeah. Especially we just got ourselves back in that game as well, and literally, as I say, we just switched off. If we kept on it and hadn't switched off, I think we'd have gone on to win that game, and we'd be unbeaten. The new Invincibles incoming. No, all jokes aside, no. As I say, the mentality is being shown now that these players are mentally a lot stronger now. They can recover from adversity when it comes to it does, because it is going to come. This season, there's no way. If we go first of this season in the league alone and win pretty much all the games and draw the 1 or 2 and lose none between now and the end of the season. If we do that, and even if we don't win the league, that will be mad. But we're going to have it. I think we'll have at least maybe one defeat. This one or two, worst case 2 more defeats at worst case in the league itself.
Yeah,
because it's the norm in that sense. And it's not, again, that's not a bad thing. When you consider for the last 2 seasons or 3, we've been losing 13 league games alone. 13.
Yeah, was it 13 last season we lost?
13 last season, 13 the year before. Yeah. I can't remember what the year before that was, but to go from that to then what 1 or 2 or 3 defeats in the league, that in itself is a massive turnaround there as well. And then, as I say, even if we don't, as an Arsenal fan, I want us to win the league. If we do win the league, fantastic. I'll be the most arrogant prick on here you ever come across. I'll be giving it last to every single rival fan all summer. They'll be sick to death of me, basically. Put it that way. But even if we don't, worst case scenario, if Man City go on to win the league, which is not a bad thing because the money they spent, they should be winning the league because the money they spend compared to us. I will still be like, you know what? I'll be proud of my team, and I'll be like, you know what? We go again next season now. Let's go one step further. Get a few signings in here and there, and we go again. And I'll believe
it's the progression, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can see the progression where we were when Arteta sort of first took over. Year on year, I know there's a lot said about the 8th and the 8th again, but we had to get rid of a lot of the dead wood and the bad attitude in the squads, and that takes time because they were expensive, wages that no one wanted. So it took a while, and it has taken a while. And we're still in that process. We're still not where we want to be. We are where we are, but we actually want to be.
Yeah, sorry, we're massively overachieving, in my opinion.
See, I don't think we are.
In terms of where we came from, because obviously the adversity of losing out to them lot of all people, anyone else.
Yeah.
Then but the fact that we are top of the league, we're top in terms. When I say overachieving, I mean that we're top by 5 clear points against a team that's fought fucking hard, and he scored 3 hat tricks already this season.
I hear that. I just think we are where we are. We discussed the games briefly. I think we played really poor in one but won it, switched off in one and lost it, and wasn't really at the races but come away with a draw against Southampton. Every other game I think we've deserved to win, and we've been very good in every single game. So we deserve to be where we are, but like I say, it's not the end goal for me. The end goal is to be winning these tournaments, the Premier League, competing in every single competition, and be going as far as we can in Europe every season. You know, at the moment we're just on. You know, we're just at the start of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. And long may it continue, because I'm enjoying it. As I say, I'm loving the fact I can go into games and not fear anyone, no matter who we play. It's like, okay, bring on the game. I'm not like, I'll see the team, right, can we get a result? I know we will get a result. It's basically my attitude in terms of the league anyway. It's a start. It's only the start. This season's only the start of what's to come, basically. Even if we do or don't win the league, we're going to do it. We're going to go again next season in terms of the progression will be to better our results, basically. Go that step further, up the ante even more. Show everyone, because even if, look, first or second, you're going to have, come May, you're going to have the media go, well, they've done it this season. We will fall off next season. Now they're back in the Champions League. That will be the new narrative. The narratives will change into that now. Now they're back in the big boys table. What now's going to happen? How are they going to improve? Or are they going to fall back and do what Leicester did all them years ago?
They'll think we went back to Arsenal, where we were getting to the last 16 and then getting battered by Bayern or Barca again. You know, that's naturally what's going to happen. But it's up to us to keep proving people wrong.
Yeah, and there's that. And I think Arteta's proven that he uses certain things that are said in the media, be it by current players or ex-players or whatever. He uses that to motivate the players. Depending on the game and whatever, he'll use that to motivate the players, and they get the reaction. And I don't care what anyone says in terms of, we don't really listen to all that. We've seen the documentary. What was it, the Ivan Toney tweet? He used it. The next time we played him, he used it again. Went, okay, this is what he said. He took the piss. They just beating us at the first game. He was taking the piss out of us. Now we're here. This is our playground now. Go and show me who's boss.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think in terms of, what was it, Chelsea the other week, before we wrap things up, Chelsea the other week, obviously the promo from BT and Aubameyang going, nothing personal, I'm back, I'm blue, this and that crap. And then we beat them, and Gabriel goes and puts that tweet and goes, with the photo of him and Aubameyang, and it goes, #nothing personal, but London is red.
No, it's brilliant.
But they panned out. Certain things are used to motivate these players, and I think it seems like they thrive on that. They enhance it, they take it in themselves and go, okay, let's do this now. Let's go and prove these people wrong. Let's go and put that miserable knobhead in the bucket of mud.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, Ryan, is that, we've got such a young squad that we kind of see all these people on TalkSport or, whoever in the media tearing into us. But our players, they're that generation. They would listen and watch these comments, it would come up. So Arteta's being clever, in my opinion. He knows that his players are going to hear this criticism. So why not use it to motivate them,
Yeah.
Obviously, I've never been in a dressing room with Arsene Wenger. I have no idea what his team talks are like or anything. But I can't imagine, he'd be pulling up tweets and saying, this player, humiliated you and wants to do it again. I just imagine he'd go in and tell the players to express themselves. So Arteta's played a blinder, in my opinion. And long may it continue.
It's good. I get it. It is good that Arteta does use that modern take on things. Obviously, he's young, as I say, he's a young manager, but he uses these moments of social media tweets and clips or whatever, and goes and uses it to his advantage and goes, okay, this is what's been said. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to let them? Are they going to be proved right, or are you going to prove them wrong? And he just goes, okay, right, this is the situation. Out you go, do your job.
Yeah,
and they go and do it. And
we
sorry,
mate. We sit.
Sorry, I was just saying I can't wait for Fulham away, because obviously Richard Keys and he's infamous. You can't celebrate against Fulham. But Man City do it. It's okay.
I haven't heard anything. Yeah, it's bizarre. I don't really understand where his real hatred all of a sudden has come from. From Arsenal.
It gets clicks, doesn't it? It gets the fan base on it, and basically it gets in that attention.
Yeah, but again, use that to our advantage. We again, to touch on the documentary, we see Arteta doing all these different ways to motivate the players. Yes, some of it is a little bit cringy at times, especially with the "You never walk alone."
Yeah, that was I think that was the one thing that makes me cringe. Out of everything he tried, that was the one thing that was like, really?
Yeah, but the thing is, Ryan, he's trying, and we can get behind him, and I can only imagine that the players would hear the same voice and the similar tactics. Maybe each game is slightly different. I don't know, but it would kind of be the same thing. But to try and reiterate that point and get his methods across, he's got to switch it up and he's got to try different things. And he does that, and that engages with young minds. And like I say, we've got a team full of young minds. So yeah, that long may it continue.
Yeah, 100%. And just before you wrap things up, I mean, it's now the World Cup, officially the World Cup break now. It starts next weekend, I believe.
Yeah.
Month and a half of no Arsenal or men's team. We've got the women's team. That's if you watch that or whatever. But apart from that, it's no men's Arsenal until Boxing Day because we're at the League Cups. We've saved. I think a lot of the big boys in the League Cup actually sacrificed because the thing was going to be the finals the final for the World Cup's on the 18th. There's a League Cup. The League Cup itself is like the 21st, or the 20th or 21st, something like that, give or take, one of them dates. And then you got Boxing Day. I think Arsenal.
It's crazy.
Where we are in the league, we've sort of gone, what we're out, sort of thing, because where we are in the league and all that. So it seems a lot of them have sort of like done the same thing, sort of bit the bullet and sort of they don't want to have an extra game to come back on, especially if they've got players going deep and they can't use them. They're going to go out now, so they might as well go out now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Man City drew Liverpool in the next round of the Carabao Cup.
That can only benefit us because a few days later they've got a league game.
Exactly, and that fixture, if I'm not mistaken, is 3 days after the World Cup final.
Yeah,
and you'd imagine that Man City will certainly have a lot of players that could be in that World Cup final, and potentially so is Liverpool. So again, it's another headache. It's another fixture. It's more rotation. Straight away off the bat for these coaches. Don't get me wrong; they're paid more than enough to deal with it. But you know what I mean. It's another thing for them to try and factor in now. And it's a weird season because we've never had a season where we've had a World Cup, slap bang in the middle of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how not just us but every team copes from it. Really.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. And that's been another thing that's done my head in as we wrap things up is the media and all that. Sort of the new narrative is we're in unprecedented times because of the World Cup, which is true in that sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're acting like Arsenal's the only team that can be the only team that can be affected by it. No one else can be affected by it. That could be their new narrative. Yeah. So if Arsenal fall off, that's the reason why. See, I told you so. But it's like it's not just us. It's obviously Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, Barcelona. All these teams are going to be affected by it around the world, it or not. So I don't even like them using that narrative because everyone's going to be affected by the World Cup, like it or not. One way or the other, the World Cup's going to bite everyone on the ass at some point, be it fatigue later on down the line or not, or injuries straight from the tournament itself.
I mean, I see that Clinton Morrison, he was talking about Arsenal and how if we have injuries to certain players, it's going to really hurt us. But to me, that's just really lazy punditry because that's the same with any team, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You can say about Man City, they get key injuries to. They get injuries to De Bruyne, Haaland, Bernardo Silva. I'm trying to think now who else. I'm trying to think of someone out of random.
Edison. Ruben Diaz,
them sort of players all at the same time. They'll be affected. Of course, they'll be affected. Liverpool in the lockdown season, when they were defending champions, had a massive a load of injuries, and that affected them defending their title. They lost it back at Canton in the end because Man City just walked away with it because of the injuries and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And they just about held on to top 4. So you say that's lazy. I can't stand Clint. Him and others. They're just, as you say, they're lazy. They're just say things for the sake of it. It's lazy punditry. They don't actually really bring anything new to the table. The only real pundits that, for me, or pundit at the moment in time, that bring something to the table, something refreshing, and doesn't just say the same generic thing over and over again. It's Micah Richards.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah,
because he said it numerous times when it was all kicking off last year over the North London derby being rearranged and all that. And Neville going Neville, Carragher, and all the Sky giving us fucking flack. He's on Sky going, hang on. When Tottenham did it, when everyone and all the other 19 clubs did it, no one's ever thing. The second Arsenal do it for the same reason, it all kicks off, and there's an issue of Arsenal. It's going back to George Graham. He sort of refers back to that, basically saying when Arsenal do something, no matter what, it seems fashionable just to beat Arsenal over the edge of it.
Yeah.
No matter what, it could be the most minor thing.
I think going back to the Richard Keys thing that you mentioned, I think it's just that instance, that Arsenal fans might just be easy to wind up on social media.
Gary Neville confirmed that last week because he's been saying all season, Arsenal fans coming at me because you've been a numpty, but because you're saying things that are going to get a reaction. Because you want that attention yourself.
Well, when he says just idiotic things like, last season when we bought, all players under 23, and he said he couldn't understand our, transfer strategy. This is a guy that's played at the highest level for 20 years. Was a coach and not a very good one, but he must have some qualifications.
Yeah. And also, by the way, was part of the class of '92, a young group of lads from Man United Academy that came through. All at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened there? I think they might have won a title. I think
they've done all right. I think they did, yeah. So it's just baffling. But I think Gary Neville, listen, he's Manchester United. He can try and be impartial on TV, but when it comes to certain clubs like ourselves and Liverpool, he can't be impartial because he is Manchester United. So it just kind of is what it is.
He has that built-in hatred from the player. It has carried over to his punditry. He doesn't hide it. Jamie Carragher, I remember that going back to that Brentford game briefly for a second.
Yeah.
When literally in the live commentary as we go 2-0 down, you can hear Jamie Carragher pissing himself laughing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Oh, fantastic! You're professional. You're so professional, aren't you?" And it's not just it's a thing I've noticed a lot in the last 5 or 6 years that UK punditry in general, not just at Sky, but in general, is fucking on the floor.
Yeah.
Apart from Micah Richards, I can't think of many others that, as I say, bring something to the table that don't have a clear agenda. Basically,
it's difficult. Obviously we've got some Arsenal guys, but if I'm being honest, maybe they are a little bit biased. If I'm being real, likes of Ian Wrights and Martin Keown's, these sorts of guys. But
Harry Groves and all that.
Yeah, but again, I think you're right. There's not too many pundits that kind of say it as it is. You see clips of NBC, in America all the time, and it's it's refreshing. And when we have our pundits here, and they're just, like I say, just saying the same old thing that they say every other week, and it's just boring. It doesn't sort of educate or entertain anyone, really, does it? So,
and exactly. What I also noticed with the overseas commentary as well is this: if they have an ex-player on, is an ex-player being a co-commentator, for example?
Yeah.
He has no connection to either team, so he can be completely neutral. I mean, today, Fulham played Man United and Gary Neville's co-commentator because that makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, even they had Louis Sahar in the studio, and yes, he played for Fulham, but he also played for Manchester United. So
he's another one. Yeah, he's another one that brings nothing to the table either. Just as you say, it spins the Man United narrative for the good old days, basically.
Yeah.
The
So
guy that flops, by the way, 14 tracks, how much money in flop.
So I mean, let's face it, mate. The punditry in this country is not particularly great, and the refereeing is even worse. So we've got a lot to improve on.
We'll be here for another hour.
We'll be here for another hour. Yeah, we'll leave it at that, mate. I think.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. We'll say that for the World Cup podcast.
Yeah.
When we're comparing the World Cup, when we're comparing the international refs to our own refs.
Yeah. Can we get online?
Yeah. Can we bring that one in? Can we load that one back over there?
Yeah.
Can we send Mike Dean to Timbuktu and back?
No, just one way, mate.
Just one way. Yeah.
Don't want him back.
Timbuktu. Just go back. Just stay there. Don't come back.
Stay there.
No, but apart from that, just lastly ask, where do you see Arsenal? How do you see Arsenal's season going now? With what, as I say, we're 14 games in now, league-wise. Let's just talk about league. Don't just because obviously cups can keep on going all that.
Yeah. Well, I think we should be in the top 3 at this moment in time. Without sort of, form or injuries or anything like that. I think if you ask me now where we are, I think top 3. I'd love to say first, but I'd be content with second, especially going into the season. But yeah, man, let's just see. Champions League football for me is just a must. So if we end up clinching champion, and this sounds bonkers, but if we end up clinching it on the final day, I'd be happy with that. Yeah. Like I say, we need a bit of luck, and we need things to go our way. But as long as we keep doing what we're doing, I don't see why we wouldn't be in with a shout at least. But as a supporter, and just my own personal opinion, I just think if we can just get Champions League football, if we can finish in the top 3, we don't have to play a qualifier for it next year. So let's do everything we can to do that.
No, yeah, exactly. I think I kind of agree with you there. I think for us, in terms of our ambition and where we finish in the league will be determined. In my opinion, will be determined in January. We've got Newcastle at home, Tottenham away, Man United at home. Mm-hmm. If we come away from that game with 7 out of 9, at least 7 out of 9 points, I think we get top. I think top 2 is in our hands. Basically, it's just a matter of first or second, but depending on obviously form can come along and fuck us over, but you never know. But I think if we can, as I say, at least 7 out of 9 points, I 75% say that top 2 would be a definite for Arsenal. But we take it as it is, and anything, as long as we get Champions League, the main thing is get, as it was back in August, sorry.
Yeah.
Was get ourselves back in the Champions League once and for all. Not just do it for ourselves, but prove everyone else wrong, but just to end the hoodoo of being in Europa League or not being in Europa League, to get ourselves back at the top table of Europe and show not just domestically, but then start showing Europe and the world that we are coming back. We are getting back to where we were in terms of the progress, as we said earlier in the stream. The progress is coming, and it's coming to a European stage now. Hopefully, touch wood.
Yeah,
and then obviously if we do sort of get Champions League spots, compete for it, try and win it.
Yeah.
Because it's all well and good qualifying. You want to win it. There's no point.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, for all this difficult, to be like, hi, bye.
Yeah, I don't just want to take part. I want to actually, give it a good go and have some, I'm not expecting us just to turn up and win it. Of course not. But, have some really good nights and at the Emirates back in the Champions League, hearing the music again, having the teams come, just everything just would be, fantastic to have back. I know you said don't mention the cups, but I can't help myself. I'd love to win the Europa League.
I was just talking on league perspective in terms of where do you think we're in the league. But you've already mentioned the cup.
Yeah. I think, like I say, top 4. But if we could win the Europa League as well, that'd be special.
Yeah, I'll take that all day long.
Yeah.
European Cup, get us our get that hoodoo off our back. That because it has been a hoodoo. What was it, 2000? Against Galatasaray.
Yeah.
Barcelona and Chelsea since as well.
Yeah.
3 finals, lost all 3. Like, no, own Parma as well in the 95 year, wasn't it, against Parma?
Yeah.
Parma? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, since we won a European trophy, we've played in 4 finals and lost every single one of them. Great. That's what I want to end that hoodoo once and for all. So if we can do that this year as well,
yeah.
snap your hand off and run with it. And yeah, it's a European. And again, it's a European fucking cup, and it puts us. And also, if we do win that, if we got top 4, if we finished in the top 4 and won the Europa League, that's a fantastic season in general. But also, winning that Europa League puts us in the top pot, the champions pot.
Yeah.
So we'll avoid all the league winners of the European Cup, European leagues.
So again, it's yeah. But like I say, let's see, Matt. I know you said about the league. So like I say, if we can get in the top 4, but if we can finish top 3, injuries and form permitted, then that'd be amazing.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to wrap things up now. Obviously, thanks, Ray, for coming along. We was meant to be joined by Andrew as well, but he weren't feeling too well. He has been in the chat. I hope you do get better, my friend. Stefan as well. I hope you get better as well. Everyone else in the chat, Troy, I think Mr. Bungle and a few others have been in and out as well. Big up to you all. Thanks for all coming along and contributing to the chat, etc. And yeah, let's say massive thanks to Ray for coming along, even though it was brought at the last minute, brought down to just the 2 of us. I massively appreciate it, and I hope you've enjoyed.
Yeah, it's been really good, mate. Yeah, I've loved talking about Arsenal. Obviously, we haven't caught up in a while, so it's been really good, mate. And thank you for the chat as well for being there.
Yeah, absolutely no problem. And the audio for this will be out soon anyway on all the audio platforms. So anyone who wants to listen to this back hasn't caught all of it, but wants to listen to it back on the go, you will be able to do it in the next half hour or so. So keep an eye out for that on all the audio platforms, Spotify, Google, podcasts, and all that. Aside from that, in terms of the channel itself, I'm trying to think now. Tomorrow, got me book over. The reason that the podcast is tonight because I've got COVID 4th jab, so I might be on my back tomorrow on a reaction of whatever I put in my body. Fantastic. Trying to think. Probably do a podcast with James Rowe on Thursday or Friday, and that build up for the World Cup, because obviously he lives in Holland. So I get his perspective on Holland and what the public opinion is with Holland in the World Cup and who he thinks is going to win the World Cup, the standout players, etc., etc. And then on Saturday we'll be covering the Arsenal women versus I'm trying to think now, Man United at the Emirates, but we're covering it here on the channel. Trying to think now, 5:15 kickoff, I believe. So come along and join us for that. WSL, it's Arsenal related as well. Keeps us going during the World Cup. The Arsenal women, the Arsenal content wise, and then the World Cup hits, and then it'll be the England games. I'll be covering I'll be covering the England games as long as we're in it, and I'm going to see if Gary wants to cover the USA games when England aren't playing. Obviously, when it was like England versus Wales and Iran and all that, if he wants to cover them and sort all that out. And then obviously any other big games along the way we'll cover, but we won't be giving any coverage in terms of naming the location and things like that. We'll be calling out the bullshit of why it's there and all that crap. Big recommendation before I go. If you've got Netflix, I suggest you go on there. There's a documentary that's just been released by Netflix, their own documentary. It's a 2-parter. I'm on the 2nd episode as we speak, and it's basically calling out FIFA for their corruption. How it's FIFA,
eye-opening, isn't it?
Yeah. It basically it opens up with the opening scenes of the first episode. Is literally when the FIB all go into the HQ of FIFA, basically, and start hauling out all these big wigs and basically arresting them and all that, and with their files and this, that, and the other. And then it goes all the way back to where they believe it all began in, which was the Argentina World Cup. Basically, the president that took over he's from Brazil, and even though he said publicly, "I don't get involved in politics," obviously there was the oppression of Argentina at the time with the leadership and all that. A lot of things weren't rosy, Argentina, put it that way. And obviously, suddenly Argentina get the World Cup, and a lot is very similar to now in terms of a lot of things were murmured to like media and people outside of Argentina asking the world to boycott this World Cup. Don't go. Asking the world leaders, don't go. Similar to now, really, in that sense. And obviously, they go. Argentina host it. They win it. Was it 500 miles away from the state? That's the stadium where the finals held. There's a prisons. There's like a whole prison system where anyone that basically stood up against the hierarchy was being arrested, basically, and held in against their will, basically behind bars for not bending the knee. And then they've sort of referred to the Germany hosting the Olympics as a reference of sport washing and things like that. And it sort of then carries over to modern day when Sepp Blatter overpowered his boss and then basically bribed his way to the top, basically. And then how it sort of then steamrolls into what it then goes on with Russia and Qatar getting their World Cup respectively. It's a massive eye opener and it's well worth to watch. And FIFA are probably shitting themselves because it doesn't hold back. Put it that way. Apart from that, I'm going to wrap things up now. Thanks you all you guys. See you during the week, probably Thursday or Friday. Let you know in the community chat. If you're not new to the channel, if you like this podcast or like what we do on this channel, do subscribe, do smash that like button, and do share the content we had. It does massively help the channel grow. And yeah, we'll see you on the other side. And as always, not only are we top of the league, but come on, you Arsenal.
Come on, you Gunners.